Welcome back, everybody. Just Mike here. Anyway, we have a different clock to work on today. It's a Waterbury. I'm not going to call it a kitchen clock, even though it has that style. I don't know if they really call these kitchen clocks. It's a little bit smaller. I got it from an auction site, and my bottom's still puckered for as much as they charged me to send it here. But I got a really good deal on the clock if we forget about the shipping. Anyway, let's take a look at this clock. So this is a clock I got. It almost looks like a dog or something's been chewing on the end there. This here clock measures almost 16 inches. And this way, we're at 12 3/4. Or if we measure the bottom, we're at 15 or almost 15. This here glass face, it's got the clip there that you actually push it a little bit to get this to pop open, or just pull on this and it opens up. At the moment, I can see rust on where the key part is, and this side, actually, it's not rusty, but it looks like it might be smaller. Now this, oh well, hold on. Now this key, now this clock does run. I've had it running in the living room just to see what it would do or whatever, but I'm actually dying to get into it to clean it up, try to not necessarily fix that, but stain it so you can't see that per se anymore. Let's turn this clock around. Right here, Waterbury, it's gone part way, but Waterbury Clock Company. And back then, I don't know if they ever called these things kitchen clocks or what they called them, because you'd think it'd be on the name or in the name somewhere what it is. Anyway, it's got tack here, two metal things, so you'd have to drop this down. And you can see it is running, but like I say, not that anyone really sees it, but I'd like to have these plates cleaned up a bit. If I really wanted to, I could just take this out, oil it, and I'm sure it would be just fine. Got a little wire here. I'm going to guess, I have no idea, but I would guess it probably holds a hammer from hitting the gong when it's in shipment. I'm not sure what they do with the pendulum part. And this is rusty. But like I say, I'd like to take this thing apart. So let me turn this back around. It's got a taper pin holding the hands on. And once I get the hands off, then go ahead and take these 4 screws out and take it off so I can take a better look at it anyway. Normally these tabs are connected to the part here, but like I say, right there it is. Now I'm going to take the dial off also, because I'd like to get the brass color back, and so I do plan on doing that. The taper pin, I almost thought that was a nail. Here you got your washer sitting here on top. These hands aren't rusty, so I'm just going to clean them up. Normally they're really chipped and whatnot, and I usually like to repaint them black. Most of the time I don't think they're even painted. They have that bluing look to them. But on my clocks, I kind of like to shine them up, make them look really good and whatnot. So on here we got screw here and a screw on the other side, and we can take the dial off. Now this one looks like it's been over screwed or something because the dial's protruding, and so it's coming up with the screw. So I have to work on that, get that out of there so it can be pushed back down where it's supposed to be. But you can see how kind of tarnished this is. I'm not sure how much I can do inside there without messing with the numbers. So I'll just have to play it by ear. The glass is really filthy, at least on the outside. Now, on this side of the clock, you can see it says Waterbury Clock Company. And on this side it says, I think it says 5 3/8 right down here. It looks like it says 5 3/8. And what's kind of unusual is usually all of this is on the other side, but like I say, I don't know that they rate these as kitchen or parlor clocks. And also because it doesn't have the dial on here, even though some of your parlor clocks or kitchen clocks don't have that dial either. It's just a cheaper clock. I wanted to show on the bottom of the case what holds the clock box on. There's 4 nails. Normally when you rebuild these clocks, refinish them or whatever, all the wood is dried out. And so what you'd normally do is pull this nail and then use a screw to pull that casing in so it can hold itself, I guess, compared to if someone's moving this clock or winding it, it might start coming loose and maybe even fall off. And I see there's a nail here, why that's there. This one here, don't know why that's there. We'll turn it over in a second. I'm ready to take the movement out. See, there's no markings on this side, and that's why I say normally all your markings are on this side. And what this splatter is that's on this clock, I have no idea. It has a funny coating feel on there. Like right here, it might feel like grease, but you rub it a little bit and it almost doesn't feel like grease. Right there would be where you'd put a key to speed up or slow the clock down. So you can see the rust in here. And for all the rust that's in here, I'm actually surprised it runs so well. But anyway, like I say, I'd like to take this apart, clean it up, and maybe even shine the plate in case someone comes in and wants to look at the back of the clock. I can pull the board off with pride, showing the nice shiny plate. As for why those nails are there, I have no idea. You turn it over and they'd be located right in here. So I can't believe you'd hang the key there because you can't get to it. And here's a bent piece of the metal with a screw in there to hold hold it there, and that holds the back on. Nice gong. That'll have the, I think you'd call it a deeper, richer tone when it gongs compared to your wire coil. So looking at this here, it does have a hole in it, and normally there's a piece of wire that goes through here to keep it from slipping out. It looks like whoever had this bent it to keep it from sliding out. You can bend it back, but it's a spring-like, so it just keeps coming through. Taking a closer inspection for why I couldn't get this out, this here was twisted downward so it would pinch this so they wouldn't have to use the wire. After I straightened it out, it was able to pop right on out. Like I said, besides dirty, it's really rusty. So the next thing I need to do is I need to wind these springs up. I got my key, and both these are the same size, so we'll call it not a heart attack. So I have these wound up enough I can go ahead and put the zip ties on here, because I have it past, there's a spring stop here, and I need to get it off of there so that way when I do expand it, the zip tie is not snugging up against it. I try to center my spring or my zip tie, and now that one's ready to be let down. With the let down tool and moving the keeper there, or the clicker or whatever you want to call that in there, so I'll do that one and this one the same exact way. Not sure if you're going to be able to see this or not, but right there is the clicker. We got that one released. The spring went up on top of the clicker. If I knew it was that easy, I would have popped it up there before. Now my load is on the zip ties, so now I can take it apart without the spring zipping and zapping all these gears and possibly ruin them. So before I get started any further, I'm going to take pictures in case this explodes on me. And what I want is the screws are here. So what I want to do is with the hand shaft down, that's the way I want to take pictures all the way around. You want to take a picture of your back side is what this is. Picture of your front side also, because you're looking at maybe looking at the gears in case some of these things start to fool you or mess with your mind. And also, I have fancy feet to stick on here to hold this thing up, and I'm ready to take it apart. If you have a bowl, a coffee cup, a dessert dish, or whatever that you can set down here so these aren't resting on your table, and then it'll start pushing it up. That's what the cup's for, so it doesn't push it up. So let me get my pictures taken, get the fancy feet on here, and I'll be back. None of these screws are in tight at all. And just in case you're wondering, of course you'll want to check your own clock, but this clock happened to take a number 5 key. So I have these 5 screws out. Move the spring down. That goes to the gong. So what the deal is here is I'm going to try to get this apart with the gears still in place, because that's going to make it maybe a little bit easier for you when you go to put it back together again. And let's see. Okay, I think we're good there. I'm looking at this. It's got this here should pull straight through. That's what adjusts the time, in which it's connected to this plate actually right now. Actually, this can come off too. So this is brass, needs a little bit of cleanup, but like I say, that is so rusty. And the clock still works. It amazes me. So anyway, now's a good time to take pictures of where your warning pins are, where these triggers are, where your gears are, because looking sideways, you can get it back together, but if you can look at it this way, putting your movement back together, you have a better chance of making sure the gears go right the first time into place. So let me get a picture of that. Also, you can tell on here, you have a warning pin on this gear here. It's right there. This here comes over it and will catch it. And evidently this one here will do the same, because it's triggered off your 2-point star wheel to let it know when to gong or whatever. So that's what makes it nice about seeing that visually, I guess we'll call it. So anyway, let's go ahead and remove these 2 springs, maybe. They're actually tied into these gears right here. It still has just a hair bit of power there. Let's take the gong part off first, because I can see it's already going to get in the way. Now let's try to get this one off. Now these are going to be a little bit different, so you should pay attention. This one here will be with the strike, and so if you think you're going to get them confused, keep them separated so you know which one goes right or left, I guess we'll put it that way. Otherwise, both of them wind the same way. We'll take that one off in a second. We'll compare the two maybe. Well, actually, they both look exactly alike, but I've found where this here would be just a little bit different, and it would not fit down all the way on the opposite side. And so that's something I'll have to maybe check out after I take the rest of these gears out. So The fan's going to be the easiest one to pull out. These here are slightly connected. Let's see if we can get... That's what's going to be difficult about getting these in and out, is they're kind of intertwined. Now right here is a loop, and that loop normally, which I can put it on this clock, well, it wouldn't do any good unless you had the back open, but you'd run a wire down, and that way from here you could trigger it to make it do the cycle of what gong it is or whatever, so you can get your hands matched up to the dial, I guess we'll say, and to the gong noise it makes. Like I say, right there's the warning pin. You can see this oil and stuff's getting on me, and it's not too bad, but they might have oiled this clock. Right there's what operates these two pins, that operates the hammer. This got old oil that was on there, so someone had to have either oiled this clock, or they could have sprayed it with WD-40 just to get it to work. Even though this is at an auction, they don't tell you if these things work or not, so I don't know why they'd even do that. But it does have these piles of old oil that was dripping at one time, and now it's kind of like a tar, or it actually just flakes off. That heavy rust. And your movement cleaner doesn't necessarily take care of the heavy rust. I use my reddish brown, I don't remember what they're called, 3M scratchy pads. I use the brownish colored ones. And see, this one says Scotch Brite, so it's probably Scotch Brite, except the green ones are real abrasive compared to the reddish brown ones. And I have to be doing a little bit of carving, getting this stuff off before I put it into my ultrasonic cleaner, because it's old, heavy. But the clock ran, that amazes me. And last but least, this one's got a little pin hole in it that holds this keeper into place. See around the end there, and it pops into that hole there. So let me swish around, get some of this old stuff off, and throw this in the cleaner, and I'll be back. So this is my pile of parts that are cleaned. But I'm going to do a little polishing on these. I haven't cleaned my springs yet either. So using this, now they look so much better. They actually have a shine on them and not that black ew. And I still plan on putting the wax on there. Once you put this on, it's supposed to dry to a hard shell, so that should keep this from tarnishing or whatever. So I got all those pieces clean, and I need to clean these. This isn't a heart attack taking this off. We didn't wind it up all the way, but what you do, bring it to the end. If you have office hands, you might want to wear gloves, but normally this isn't a heart attack. I'm going to hold on to the spring here. And slowly let it open. So that's ready for the cleaner, and I'll do the same with this one. I decided to refinish this because of the scarring of chewed on, and because you can see that it used to have a shine to it. I used denatured alcohol and steel wool. Now to use plain steel wool, now that's pretty much dried. I should stain it, and hopefully it'll look okay, because we do still have a little bit of finish on here, but I think it's going to look better to put a stain on here before I put a finish on. I have it clean. I put it temporarily into the frame so I can wind it up. And after I have it wound up, I put the screwdriver in there just to hold this thing from spinning out of control, so I can get my zip tie back on. Then I can take it out and do the same with the other spring until I get the rest of the gears in. This way these aren't going to be knocking my gears out of place and whatnot. Now I'll go ahead and put because right there's the peg that keeps the spring from going into the movement, but it gives me room to put the zip tie around and then hopefully get that back out. There's actually no hopefully about it. There's all released on the zip tie now. Now I can go ahead and I put 3 screws in, I can take them out and get that back out. This is it stained. So I got it all put back together again, and my timing, when this drops, yeah, my finger's dirty from doing the case. Anyway, when this drops, you got to make sure your warning pin catches on that hook there so it'll stop it. And I didn't put in this yet because I want to oil it, and then I want to, we'll call it run it, move it around so I can make sure to work the oil in, but everything's running smooth right now. So I put a little wire on the end of this so I can make sure it doesn't fall all the way through now like it should have been. And I got the gong, or it's a hammer, tied in, and my other lever tied in here. So what's left now is just to wind this up so I can get these zip ties off. Right there is the warning pin getting caught by that lever. So here's the clock in all its glory. Got a nice shine. Glass is clean. Brass is clean. Looks very nice. I love how this stands out now too. You hear the hammer. I do believe it needs new leather so it doesn't have that tinier sound. It will have more of a rich, deep gong sound. So I do hope you enjoyed and maybe learned something about working on one of these movements. And it cleaned up very well, and that was my main goal, is to get it cleaned up. Anyway, don't forget to subscribe because it's free. Give me a thumbs up, and if you want to, go ahead and leave me a comment. I appreciate it. Anyway, until next time, God bless.